So your joint consultancy has an introduction to set-top box presentation. Can you tell us a little bit about the highlights of it? We certainly don't want to give away the store, but something that will give somebody an idea of what to expect when you show them the presentation.
We provide the definitions of what set-top box data actually are, as well as laying out the issues that are involved, and wade into the details by company. Who is offering what? We change that slide pretty regularly.
One of my favorite things to talk about is the strategies that the different research companies are taking as it relates to set-top box data. And it's very interesting. They tend to fall into two camps. And one is to just measure digital behaviors, and the other is to measure everything, comprehensive measurement. And so the only company that can provide comprehensive measurement right now is Nielsen, because they can mingle a panel with the set-top box data and added demos, and they also have all these other pieces with which they can integrate. However, if you look at TNS, they also have a lot of pieces with which they can integrate, and they're almost neck and neck with Nielsen, with the exception of having a panel. But it's funny, if you look at TNS's website, there's a man who has a little video in it, and he has an English accent, and he talks about TNS being the first company to actually develop a people meter. So they certainly have the wherewithal to build a panel and to get into that space.
We also cover the applications of the data. Sometimes we research people can go off the deep end in researchese and need to be brought back to how is this data going to be used? What are the applications? What kinds of stories can be told? So we lay out a variety of options for how to use the data and what kinds of information can be provided of what use to whom.
What would you say the reception has been at the agencies? Because I know that you've presented to a few agencies.
Well, it depends on which agency.
Okay.
Here's one particular agency where John and I didn't do a lot of the talking, but actually one of the agencies that we went to, it was the agencies are a little different in that it's very important for them to be able to see numbers across a wide spectrum of networks. They're not just looking at their own network, and it's kind of tough with set-top box data because you're dealing with so many millions of homes and set-top boxes that it's already an enormous amount of information to crunch. And then if you add to that the need to have to see all the networks in the same report, it's a little like trying to have a downhill ski and a slalom ski all in the same pair. You know, they're two things that don't go together, two skill sets.
Right. My experience has been that the agencies are scratching their heads really on, well, what are we going to do with this? We're promoting it and we have access to it, but we're not really quite sure what it means. We've been suggesting to agencies that as part of the service for their own clients, they take a look at ad effectiveness and promotional campaigns and use set-top box data to clarify those effectiveness.
Based on what you know so far, what do you think the potential is for set-top box data to be accepted as a new alternative currency?
I think that it can absolutely be a currency. I think that some industry group organization is going to need to dictate edit rules to the research companies for them to be able to play. And then at that time, that'll create a standard, and I think the industry will move forward. Right now, the research companies see those editing rules as intellectual property, and they're a little loath to share them. And unfortunately, and I understand why they worked hard to develop those rules, but at the same time, if clients aren't aware of what the rules are, they're not going to allow the numbers to be traded as a currency. They're not going to base billions of dollars on them.
In terms of time frame, and I know that standardization is a big hurdle, but you've spoken to many different types of companies and people in the industry. Do you see a time frame for set-top box data to really move forward in a meaningful way? 1 year, 2 years, 5 years?
Did you wanna-
It's evolving rapidly, and it's probably going to be a couple of years off before someone figures out a way to provide the editing rules that makes everybody feel that the data is reliable and valid.
Who do you think would be a good arbiter of standardizing the methodology and creating guidelines and editing methods? Who do you suggest?
I think that might be the MRC's role. What do you think, John?
I think so. I think they're best positioned to bring together all the different constituencies, to knock heads and sort through all the different issues involved.